You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be running through our predictions for the Women's 100 in 2022. Before we do that, just a quick message for everyone. Patreon.com/The Cricket Pod is where you can go to support the podcast and get access to exclusive content. It's in the show notes. From just £4 a month keeps us going. We're on the road. What are we up to? Like 40 something. We want to get to 50. That's, a half century. That's a good number of Patreons. That's our target for the near term. Second point, at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Third point, this show is presented by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code cricketpod@manscaped.com. Once again, 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using the code cricketpod. Sort yourself out, lads. But what we're going to do, if you like, I did, this is going to be a different video for you, or you'll have just heard the men's bit. But to reiterate, we're going to go through our predictions for the women's 100 from worst to first. Max, who's going to be the worst team in the women's? That sounds harsh, doesn't it? Who are the losers?
It sounds a little bit harsh, but they were pretty bad last year, and I think they're going to be pretty bad again this year. Welsh Fire, I've got in 8th. They're coached by Gareth Bress and led by Tammy Beaumont. And that's a good signing for them, getting Tammy Beaumont in. And they've also done well to get the very exciting Annabelle Sutherland, the Australian all-rounder, who scores quickly. So that's good. But I think they've probably overinvested in batters when you look down the side. I mean, the sort of, especially where the money's been spent, like I said, Tammy Beaumont. Rachel Haynes is in there, even though she's getting on a little bit, and Hayley Matthews as well, which leaves quite a bit of room or ground to make up with the ball. And they've got Alex Hartley of a similarly named podcast fame, and Katie George, the Young England seamer. But I think it's a lot of pressure to carry on their shoulders. And then if they want to pick Nicola Carey, who's their overseas wildcard, Australian bowler, that will bolster the bowling, but then they have to take out one of their overseas batters who's like propping up what they're able to do. So I think there's a real issue with the makeup of the side. It's pretty imbalanced, and I think that is going to be where they fall down. I think they're going to be possibly on the end of a few pastings with the ball, sadly, but you never know. I could be completely wrong, but I'm not optimistic.
They were one of the teams I saw last year at the Oval, and they weren't great. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I think they'll be better this year. Last year they were incredibly dependent on their overseas players, and none of them turned up because of COVID. This year the overseas players will turn up, but I don't actually know if it's going to help them too much, because unfortunately everyone else's overseas players
they're also
going to turn up. So it definitely makes their team better, but I'm not sure by how much. I think it's a fair pick for number 8. Ross?
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree.
Okay, in 7th, my pick for 7th is the Manchester Originals, and I had some pushback on this when I announced it yesterday. Max, did you do your fact about Wales?
Oh no, I didn't do my fact about Wales.
Okay, so just for our international audience, we thought we'd give you a little bit of colour about the places these everyone's playing in. So what's your fact about Wales?
Yes, so Welsh Fire, they're obviously based their home ground is Sophia Gardens in Cardiff. So my facts actually, I've gone because it's a city-based franchise. My facts are city-based. So Cardiff, up until the mid-19th century, employed a beer taster. That was a job you could be for the city of Cardiff, an official ale taster. And that sounds bloody brilliant.
There we are. Manchester Originals. Manchester is, of course, the first place in the world where they split the atom at Manchester University. So when it all goes wrong in Ukraine and Uncle Vlad flows his toys out the pram. We've got Manchester to blame. Is my point. They're captained by Kate Cross rather. They weren't great last year. These were another team I saw at the Oval.
Yeah.
And I think realistically they probably underperformed a little bit, and they might be a bit better.
Yeah, I didn't really have them doing
year.
quite well last year in our preview.
Possibly.
I thought that might be my fault.
I think my problem, and so I have a theory, and it could be an incorrect theory, that the best player matters a lot more in women's cricket than it does in men's cricket. I think the skill gap between the best players and the worst players is greater, and that means, effectively a smaller number of people can dominate in that format.
I think that's fair, right? Because just purely from the difference in the amount of cricket that gets played, like between the top and the bottom in women's cricket compared to men's cricket.
Yeah, and you're looking at some of these teams where the best player is, a full-time professional working on their game the whole time, experience in World Cups, experience in different conditions, has played against some of these other players before. And the worst player is probably is effectively semi-professional, or
played a couple of games in the Hey Ho Flint Trophy or something.
That's a dynamic which doesn't exist in men's cricket, where everybody works on things the whole time. And now my criticism of Manchester Originals is that whilst some of these players are good, I think other teams have better players, and I think it's a little bit more of a strong link sport, women's cricket at the moment. I think that will develop, right? But I'm not sure I love them for that reason. I'm also a little unsure with a couple of their players whether they may have passed the point at which they were very good, and now they might be slightly not living on reputation, but not quite as good as they were. So I'm thinking here, particularly the two overseas players, Lizelle Lee and Amy Satterthwaite, both into their 30s. I think both of them don't play international cricket anymore.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole thing about the reason Lizelle Lee doesn't play international cricket anymore.
Oh, can you enlighten me?
Essentially, what happened was she was asked. Well, there's a fitness test for the South Africa side, but there are sort of two aspects to it. There's one of it is the running and the cardio side, and the other it is just like a pure weight thing. And Lizelle Lee failed on the weight side of it. She said she wasn't offered any support by South Africa about trying to reduce that weight to get into the side. They said go back home and work on your conditioning so that you can come back into the South Africa side. But in the meantime, they took away then her no objection certificate, which allowed her to play in tournaments and franchise tournaments over the world. And basically, she just said, well, look, I need the money for the franchise tournaments. I can't be guaranteed that I'm going to be able to lose this weight. Whether or not the sort of arguments between her and South Africa about getting the support for doing that, I don't know what the truth is behind that. But essentially, she made the prudent decision of saying, well, I'm going to retire from international cricket so I can focus and play these franchise tournaments. And she believes really that it's pretty stupid having just the pure weight thing, because she's able to do the running and the cardiovascular stuff, and she has the skills that are important for passing the cricket fitness tests and that kind of thing. So her retirement, I think, is probably slightly clouded.
Right, fair enough. It sounds like South Africa have northed it up a little bit, but I think, to some extent, the point still stands. Like the couple of their star players are aging. I also don't really know who their five bowlers are. Now, I think, full disclosure, on the women's side of the game, a lot of the 100 is a bit of a journey of discovery for us. Like a lot of these players we won't have seen play. There's not that much information out there about them. They could have five amazing bowlers, but there are other teams where I've looked at the lineup and been like, it's quite clear where the 100 balls are coming from here. Not clear here. And I think that'll be a problem. So,
well, you got Eccleston, Cross, Phoebe Graham.
Okay, that's 60.
Yeah. Emma Lamb replaced Sarah Glenn in the England squad when she took a bit of time out. So I think they've got something there. I reckon.
Dot in bowls as well. I still don't. I think there are much better bowling teams than that. Is what I would say. 7th. Any objections?
I'll let you have it.
I think they'll finish above.
I think they're better, but you know.
I think having Eccleston is a massive boon, and the Dottin's also fucking good. So
okay, fine.
Yeah. Anyway,
We'll see.
I'm not going to dial it. With things to do today.
Cool. 6th place. I think that's me. We've gone a little mixed things up a bit. Trent Rockets, I think we've got in 6th. As mentioned, they're the Skips team, coached by Sally Ann Beams and captained by Nat Sither. We all know all about her. My fact about Nottingham, I've got 2. In 1180, Nottingham was the first place to record an earthquake in the UK. And in 600 AD, or up until 600 AD, Nottingham used to be known as Snottingham because it was run by an Anglo-Saxon tribe called the Snottingers, I think. And Snottingham actually means town of the snot people. So if you're from Nottingham, you are a snot person. There you go. Right. I think they've got a bit about them, Trent Rockets. I reckon we're entering that kind of middle ground again, aren't we? Where, there's sort of, it could be a bit of up and down. But they've got Nat Silver and Meg Lanning, so star quality with the bat. They also have the legend that is Catherine Brunt, but she is now 37. So whether she's going to be able to perform, to the levels that she has in the past is another question. And they've got some pretty quality leg spin. They've got the exciting duo of Alana King, the Australian, and our Sarah Glenn. But my concern there is that you're possibly a little bit too similar. 2 leg spinning all-rounders, essentially. And that seems like not a really good way to set up your white ball side, just with just too much emphasis on two similar players, and it leaves them a bit light on seam bowling. Again, sort of with the Manchester Originals, I think you're not really 100% sure where all of those balls are going to come from. So I think they will have their work cut out a little bit in terms of finding the balls to keep sides down to a total. But they've got some. I mean, when you're talking about like their top overseas player, like Meg Lanning and Alana King, they're up there.
I'm going to be honest with you, Max. When we did this there was a notation error, so we had 2 Trent Rockets on the list. I had Trent Rockets at 3rd, and I prepared a part saying they would finish 3rd.
Right. So who was supposed to be 6th?
Northern Superchargers, and I think that's a much better call, to be honest. So
let's pivot. I'll do Northern Superchargers right now.
Hell.
Yeah.
No, it's all right.
That makes a lot more sense looking at this side.
Yeah, it does. If you look through the 2 levels side by side, it's not really much of a contest, I would say.
No, it's not. I think Trent Rockets are winning that game 9 times out of 10.
For all of the reasons you said Trent Rockets were good, they are better than Northern Superchargers. Yeah. I think that probably leaves us without somebody who's done a deep dive on Northern Superchargers. They obviously have some good players: Lisa Healy, Jemima Rodriguez, and Laura Wolfart.
Yeah.
That's maybe the best 3 overseas players, but
yeah.
I think it dropped.
And that's shown
quickly
by the money that they're spent on them, right? That's the top 3 salary caps. So that leaves them again. Well, they're a bit light in the. You said there's a big difference, and you need your top players to be top. But I guess the flip side can be true, can't it? In that if you've gone all in on your top players, and you're carrying too much, baggage, then you can also be in trouble. So is that fair?
Northern Superchargers,
the RCB approach.
Yeah. We nose that one up. We have to own it. Ross, back to you, 5th.
Yeah, 5th, Birmingham Phoenix. So Birmingham, who are currently hosting the Commonwealth Games, which is the reason the Women's 100 is slightly delayed this year. It creates 40% of the UK's jewellery. Birmingham. Do you know that?
That's good, yeah.
It also accounts for 70% of the theft of jewellery in the UK. So that's not actually true. I just thought it'd be quite funny.
That's very rude.
It is quite. It is the home of the Balti. So if you are curry fans, the Balti is Birmingham was where it was made. Captain is Amy Jones, the England wicketkeeper batter. Coach is Ben Sawyer. I think this team can surprise people. They did relatively well last year. 3rd place, I think it was, with a couple of players missing. They'll have Alyssa Perry back in the mix this year, but their breakout stars in kind of Izzy Wong, Eve Jones, and the dentist Max Sood, as well as their leading wicket taker in Kirsty Gordon, is it's a strong side. They're one of those teams I think that might go a little bit under the radar, if I'm perfectly honest, and I think they'll do okay.
I think we talked about this with the men's team and Trent Rockets. I think they're a team that will be caught up this year, basically. I also think that Elise Perry's a little bit of a mirage in T20 cricket or 100 ball cricket, as this will be. Obviously, a huge name in the game, but I don't know if it's a massive boon.
Sophie Devine's pretty good. Dishi Sharma's also good. So again, they're going to have people, but I think your comment around they might get caught up, I think is probably a fair one. But they'll win a few games, and they'll be a very competitive side.
Okay, into the top four then. We've already done Trent Rockets. Thanks, Max. So we'll skip them. Fourth,
I'm taking no blame for that one.
Fourth, well, it's okay. Look, we're ahead of the game, aren't we? Fourth, the London Spirit. Lords, of course, is the home of cricket. If you're a man, if you're a woman, you didn't get to play there till 1964, and you couldn't be a member till 1999. And in the last 5 years, you didn't play there either. So, I mean, that is ridiculous, isn't it? So the England women's team won the World Cup 5 years ago. In that time, there've been 5 Eton v Harrow matches and no England women's game.
Women just
tear
don't
it down.
The egg and bacon colours, do they?
Tear it down.
Say what you want about Lords, but they aren't woke. Heather Knight is the captain. Yeah, Heather Knight is the captain. I think they've got a pretty good chance. In fact, the more I think about them, the more I think they might be slightly underrated in fourth place. My argument for this is that I think they field more or less an international quality bowling attack, and I don't think any of the other teams necessarily do. So Megan Shutt, Freya Davis, Charlie Dean, Amelia Kerr, all very decent. Now the flip side of this, and this could be a problem in some games, is that they might be a bit shallow with the bat. But here, going back to my point from earlier, is where I think they might be okay. I think the best women's players can support the team better than we see in the men's game. So I think between Beth Mooney and Heather Knight and Sophie Duff,
bionic jaw Beth Mooney,
they should have some consistent run production. And I think that bowling attack, they might be like the team Sunrisers wish they were. Do you know what I mean? Like a team that regularly gets, I don't know, what's a good score, 130, say, and defend it. That's what I think, and we see, it's a little bit of a cliche. It's not absolutely true. It's a theme, but like often you do see good bowling teams do well in these tournaments. I think London Spirit could be a good example of that. Basically, any objections?
No, I'm with you. I think that's a fair assessment.
Cool. So we had Trent Rockets in third, and that meant in second place, Ross, who do we have?
Well, we've got Southern Brave, just like we had in the men's, the Hampshire-based side. And a bit of a fact about Hampshire, it's dubbed the watercress home of England. So if you like your salads, head on down to Hampshire. Shrubsole is their captain. Our Indian listeners will know her well, as she blew away their team in the World Cup final. Coach is Charlotte Edwards, who is a huge name in women's cricket. And they were runners-up last year, and I think they've got a pretty good chance again. They are going to be title challengers. They've got a very strong batting lineup, especially with Danny Wyatt, Sophie Dunkley at the top of the order, and a pretty strong overseas contingent, which
I think they might. Who do you say the other team might be best? I think just because they've got Talia McGrath.
I was going to say Talia McGrath is legit.
Very, very good. They've also got the Indian player Manhana, and then the Aussie spinners as well, Wellington and Strano. This team, Jack, you talked about them sometimes at the difference between the best players in women's cricket compared to the worst players. This team is full of people who you just like, you are very, very talented. And yeah, I think Southern Brave on both fronts, if you look at it as two franchises, if you like, they are both very, very strong. So yeah, both title challenging, and yeah, would not be surprised to see them lift the trophy.
Yeah, Talia McGrath, by the way, in her T20 career so far, average of 130, strike rate of 157. Not
cheating,
not
isn't
bad. It? Not bad. I mean, it's it's only 260 odd runs, but it's pretty good. Right, Max, we've been recording for too long, so we're going to run out of time. Who is the last team in our preview of the women's side of the 100?
The last team is
the winners.
The winners, and last year's winners as well. Oval Invincibles is who we've got top. They are coached by Jonathan Batty and captained by Danny van Niekerk. They have one of the two married partnerships in the 100 this year. They had it last year, Danny van Niekerk and Marizanne Kapp, who, well, they smashed it last year, and fully expect them to smash it again. They've got a nicely balanced side. That's what I think is so good about the Oval Invincibles. You've got the three overseas. So on top of Van Niekerk and Kapp, you've also got Shabnam Ismail, who will come in and bowl as fast as she possibly can. And Kapp offers an option with seam bowling. And then on the spin side, you've got Maddie Villiers or possibly Danielle Gregory, young leg spinner who's been pretty economical in the Hey-Ho Flint Trophy, and Van Niekerk can bowl spin as well. Alice Capsey's been bowling for the England side as well. One more year of Alice Capsey can only be a good thing after her sparkling entrance onto the scene last time. So, and then you've got England keeper Lauren Winford-Hill in there as well. It's a really nicely set up side. I think you've just got a really good core there of sort of 7-8 players who are going to be able to do essentially everything for you, and that is, for me, what gives them such a good grounding and a chance to very much make the playoffs and potentially win the whole thing again. But more competition this year, I think, given what you were saying about particularly Southern Brave. That's a really, really good looking side. So I think those two going head to head should be a cracker. That's the final I want to see. Cool.
Right. That concludes our preview.
What's the order? What's the final order?
Oh yeah. What is the final order? Hold on. I've got it written down.
Yeah, we should clarify that.
So eighth Welsh Fire, 7th Manchester Originals, 6th Northern Superchargers,
also known as Trent Rockets 2,
5th Birmingham Phoenix, 4th London Spirit, 3rd Trent Rockets 1, 2nd Southern Brave, and 1st we had the Oval Invincible. So that's, we'll see how our predictions
go. See how badly we do.
Looking forward to the tournament, and we will, I don't know, catch up with you as we go, won't we? Goodbye, everyone. Unless you want to say, we should do messages. Like and subscribe at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Patreon, seriously, go to Patreon now in the show notes. Patreon.com/the Cricket Pod. £4 a month, get exclusive stuff. And we're of course sponsored by manscaped.com. Use the code CricketPod for 20% off there.
And free shipping.
And free shipping. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.